If you follow my channel and you're watching this at the time it uploads, then you know that it's been like 2 months since I've made a video, so be easy on me in this video, okay? Thanks. Hola my beautiful lotus flowers, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're into nerding out on everything astrology, spirituality, and self-transformation, this is the community for you. Today we're talking all about what it means to balance the human experience and the spiritual experience. There are a lot of questions these days around our material reality and how that connects to our spirituality. There's a lot of controversy and criticism around what makes you spiritual, and there's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to having a connection to the material world. People tend to believe that we can't live out both our human experience and every aspect of it while also being our highest spiritual self, when in my opinion that is just not true. But we'll get into that later. So if you're interested in knowing about what even is the human experience versus the spiritual experience, and if you're struggling with knowing how to kind of live out both and what that even entails, then make sure you keep watching the video. But like I said, whether you're new here or a returning viewer, just know that I have not filmed in 2 months because I was moving. This is the first video I'm filming in my new room. Yay! Because that was a long process. But just go easy on me, okay? I don't know if I'm gonna be flowing, if the words are gonna be flowing the way they normally do. So yeah, I'm getting back into my groove. Anyways, let's get into it. First of all, what even is the human experience versus the spiritual experience? You've probably heard the popular quote, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience." Originally coming from a French philosopher named Pierre something de Sardine. I don't know. I don't speak French. Well, I don't know. My last name's French, but I don't speak French, so do with that what you will. Recently, this quote has really blown up though in popularity as more people explore their own spirituality. So let's start off by kind of breaking this down and identifying what we even mean when we speak of the human experience versus the spiritual experience. So the human experience can be simply explained as referring to the more ego-driven aspects of our lives, such as our attachment to material items and our physical experience in this world. Whereas the spiritual experience can be referred to as the more unseen side of our existence, also known as our soul, the energy that resides within us that feels connected to something higher, something divine that can't necessarily be explained. Now, are they separate experiences or are they intertwined with each other? What I'm about to say may not be something that everybody watching this agrees with, and that's okay. The spiritual experience and spiritual beliefs are so varied and widespread that, and it's not even something that can be thoroughly explained. It's not something that any of us know or have a degree in. You can't have a master's degree in spirituality. All of us are exploring it in our own timeline, with our own energy. What aligns with us is completely different. Nobody has the same building blocks of their spiritual experience. So keep that in mind when I talk about this. Everything I say is completely based on my own experience spiritually and as a human being on this planet. So take with it what you will, but I encourage you to listen with an open mind and an open heart and take the parts that resonate with you and apply it to your own experience. So my answer to the question, are they separate experiences or are they intertwined, is basically no. They are not separate existences. They are two aspects of our existence that are both just as important as the other. The ego is not our enemy, and indulging our spirituality is not ignorant. I believe that one problem with this quote, the one about, being spiritual beings have a human experience, I believe a problem with this quote is that it puts down our human experience a bit by denying the fact that we are still human beings. I believe we are equal parts human and spiritual being because both are necessary for the existence that we've been born into here on this earth. So some of you might be a little confused right now by what I'm trying to say, but don't worry. I'm about to explain. I think the reason we'll start to separate each experience and look down on one is because we see the dark side of each one and immediately shun the entire experience. I want to start with a beautifully written excerpt from a blog I found a while ago on this subject that reads, "Does this matter? It matters a lot, particularly for those who seek an inclusive and humane world. In the same way, greedy, unconscionable capitalism is destroying us. Humanity's severed spirituality is destroying us. It's all part of the same power-seeking patriarchal system. One that focuses on mastery at the expense of connectiveness. One that focuses on being above rather than being among. Because if we don't believe that what happens to the human is spiritually relevant, we won't bother to improve our behavior or become more inclusive in our thinking. We won't stop to look at our effect on each other. We won't bother to worry about human rights or healing our trauma or crafting legal and political structures that reflect our sacred significance. Why would we bother to focus on inclusivity and human value if we believe that our experience of God or enlightenment or divinity is not down here among us, but is way up there, far above the human fray?" Branching off of what I just read to you, when it comes to the dark side of the human experience, I definitely believe that this includes being too worldly, materialistic, and too consumed by what's happening in our physical reality, which leads to its own various forms of illness. Whereas the spiritual experience's dark side can be seen when people channel it as a means to escape reality or a way to try and transcend humanity and completely disconnect. And I have received comments on some of my past astrology and spirituality videos where there are some people who have stated that they believe that it's totally okay to transcend humanity and completely disconnect from this ugly, broken world. But I definitely don't agree with that. I do think that that is a form of toxic spirituality, because basically you're putting everything below you, and all the suffering and the happiness and everything that we have been brought into this world to experience, you're basically shunning to the side. And it's definitely born from a fear to experience those things. You don't want to experience the hurt that can come with the love that you experience. You don't want to experience the pain and the darkness that can also come with the extreme light and joy and fulfillment as well. It's just the yin and yang are constantly working together, and it's a matter of embracing both sides of it. And having this belief, having this desire to transcend or completely leave behind our humanity and escape this world is what also leads to its own unhealthy behaviors, which we are seeing become even more widespread as we speak. We're seeing a lot more mental health issues arise, and we're seeing a lot of violent behaviors arise where, I mean, don't get me wrong, we've always experienced these things as humans, but they're taking on a different form and a more widespread form. Another dark side of spirituality that drives a lot of people away from the spiritual experience is the fact that a lot of people use spirituality as a crutch for their ego-driven, selfish behaviors, and they will tend to use it to justify their wrongful acts. And this drives a lot of people away from spirituality, thinking that it's not a credible way to live your life. But rather than seeing the two as these opposing enemies in which you have to pick a side, you have to pick whether you're going to be more human or more spiritual, look at them as team members. They're team members that need each other because they provide what the other one lacks. And when the two work together and combine equally, they create an extremely powerful force. Before we talk about how to balance the spiritual and human experience, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one, and to help push me out to more people so more people can receive this positive information. Now let's talk about how you can balance the two, implementing both spirituality and the human experience into your daily life so they don't feel so separate. Number one, stop thinking that the two have to be separated into to-do lists or separate tasks. One of the reasons we tend to naturally assume that these two experiences have to be separate is because we often think that each experience requires a to-do list that we have to check off in order to nourish that area of our lives. For example, you might be thinking, okay, so to nourish the human part of my life this month, I'm going to make sure I make time to hang with my friends at least twice. I will only drink a few times this month, and I will have a spa day where I get my nails done, a facial done, hair done. And to nourish my spiritual side this month, I'll be sure to sit down and meditate at least 10 minutes every day, practice daily prayer, and go for a mindful nature walk at least once a week. Whereas these are great checklists that are awesome, and I encourage you to do these things as well. These rigid checklists are not necessary. Our humanity and spirituality can be intertwined in the way that we live our daily lives outside of these checklists. One of the first books I read to make me realize this is the book called Peace is Every Step by Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He intertwines the Buddhist philosophy on mindfulness with daily life, even during the tasks that we consider the most ordinary. From being present while you wash dishes, to the way that you walk, to each traffic light you stop at, he offers ways to naturally bridge the gap between our humanness and our spirituality, showing that both can share space with each other to enhance our daily life, even if we aren't sitting down and doing some fancy spiritual or human practices. Number 2, find ways to ensure that you are always expanding yourself in both areas of your life. This one is a fairly short but sweet tip that I have for you. This is something I've been doing for a while, but what I like to do is I like to be reading simultaneously one self-help, more like logical book, and one more spiritual book. So that way I'm constantly nourishing both aspects of myself and growing in both on a daily basis. Or if it's a time period where I don't have the time to be juggling 2 books, or I don't want to, then I'll just switch off between the 2. The next read that I do will be a spiritual book, and then the one after that is going to be more of a self-help, self-transformational book, such as like Atomic Habits or Flow, something like that. Whereas my spiritual books will be something like Peace is Every Step, the book I mentioned by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Untethered Soul, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, etc. Number 3, build your relationship to your intuition and grow your ability to detach from the physical when necessary. I mentioned this concept in a past video I did about raising your vibration daily, and that video will be linked right here if you want to go watch it. So in that video, I talked about how it's not the material, physical aspects of our lives that are necessarily the problem. You know, it's not money, it's not clothes, it's not the music we listen to, etc. Those are not the issues. The issues are our attachment and our consumption by those things. How we allow ourselves to react to and be consumed by those physical things is the problem. Because if you build your relationship, your spiritual relationship with yourself, your mental strength with yourself, and you really get to know who you are, then you have the ability to detach from those things and not allow yourself to be controlled by them. Now, when I use the word detach, I don't use that to describe not caring. A lot of times detach kind of has a negative connotation, and it's seen as not spiritual to detach, which don't get me started on
what's not spiritual.
But when it comes to detachment in the way I speak about it, it just means being able to create those boundaries and separating what is and what isn't, what's real from what's not, what to consume and what not to. So for example, I mentioned in that video, the Raising Your Vibration Daily, I mentioned that I have a like ratchet boss vibes playlist that I love to listen to sometimes. A lot of people would probably be really like appalled if they watch my videos and then heard that playlist. And it's a public playlist on my Spotify if you want to go listen. I'll link my Spotify in the description. But I love that playlist because it's a certain mood. I have playlists for all types of moods, for more romantic moods, for more boss type moods, for more like easygoing, I don't really want to listen to vocals, etc. I have so many different playlists, and I recently started a playlist called Multi-Dimensional, so I can add any type of music to it that I want. And it's just embracing every dimension of the human experience. And so the thing is, a lot of people think that listening to this like really like heavy, aggressive, assertive hip hop type music or rap music or super dark heavy metal music, like they think stuff like that is going to hinder their spirituality. But no, actually the more that you build and create a fear around certain things or start to peg them as bad or peg them as good even in your mind, you start to build an attachment to that image of it, and you build your fear around things. And the more that you are fearful of things, the more that you're only hurting yourself. When it comes to things like music or clothes or whatever, it's okay to want those things, listen to it, wear it, whatever it is, but don't attach yourself to it. Don't let it become your identity and your way of life. That's where the problem lies, is not being able to detach from those things. Do not allow these things to become you and to become your life. They are only one aspect of your life that is not necessary. They're there for you to enjoy, but not to become part of who you are. Learn how to identify where you might be allowing worldly matters to consume you, and learn to identify when your intuition is speaking to you and guiding you away from or towards those things. Listening to your intuition is also another great way to further intertwine the physical and the spiritual, because our intuition is always trying to help us navigate the physical in a way that is most true to ourselves. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and so you don't miss future videos just like this one. I am struggling with this outro because I haven't done it in forever, so don't mind me. But yeah, if you don't want to miss future videos, please do all of that. And you can also head to my Instagram at Marisa LaBlue if you haven't already, where I have a more personal side to my journey here on the internet, as well as more fun astrology content. And until I see you next time, thank you so much again for watching this video. I really appreciate you for being here. I'll see you next time. Adios.